You're listening to the Reinvest Podcast, where each Tuesday we will show you how to reclaim, reconnect, and refocus your life by bringing you the top real estate professionals in the industry. We'll pull back the curtain so you can implement these tools and tactics to build generational wealth. Your hosts, Garrett Gatton and Seth Ciminillo. Welcome on this sunny day here in Northwest Ohio, coming from the Reinvest Podcast studio.
Northwest Ohio is where all the realists come from. You know what I mean? Like all the real OG people out there. I'm trying to use the hip, young terminology.
You are young.
So
Ohio actually has the most presidents that's come from our state than other states.
So what's that say?
Yeah, well, we're poised for success and set and ready to go. Got an exciting guest here today. Let's see here. Zek Buys Houses LLC, wholesaling extraordinaire, Land Shark, multiple brands, Brent Bowers, former Army officer. Dude, good to have you on today, man.
Seth, Garrett, I'm excited to be here. I love getting on podcasts where there's two hosts, because it's usually, kind of triple the fun.
Yeah, there we go.
No pun intended. It's funny as heck. You threw me off for a second there with your intro. I was like, neither one of their lips are moving. But, I love the facts too about Ohio. I didn't know about that, about the presidents or
we are a flyover state in a lot of ways, but
very flat.
It's interesting, so a little context for Seth and I, we are, real-time real estate agents, real estate investors, and in the Midwest. And so, as we've gotten out of our area, we've realized that there are a lot of eyes looking into the Midwest, especially as people are getting squeezed for returns kind of on East Coast, West Coast. And it's been, eye-opening, I think, to see what we have to offer other parts of the country in terms of investment. But speaking of investment in different asset classes, man, you have a wholesaling background. You focus on land. You're the Land Shark, which I think is an awesome name. So give us some context, give us some background, kind of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, no, it's so I started out in 2007. I bought that. I had actually gotten my real estate license because I thought that would make me a better real estate investor. I bought the first house that I saw come through the real estate office. It was actually the sister agent. I was at Exit Realty. So my sponsoring agent took me on, and then she got this listing. So I made an offer on it. I bought that house within a couple of weeks, and it kind of took me through the gutter. It was in 2007. I had multiple bad tenants. I was really kind of just learning by the seat of my pants and all the things not to do. Like, you don't want to charge the highest rent because you usually get the worst tenants, because the tenants that have the worst credit can pay the most. The tenants that have the best credit don't have to pay the most. So one thing that it took me years to learn, you don't want the highest paying tenants. And then 2008, 2009 happened for me. It really drove me out of the real estate market. I ended up having to, because I had already started a business, I left that, ended up moving in with my in-laws because I couldn't afford to pay my bills. And it was pretty humbling. I was really humbled and got depressed. I wasn't getting out of bed till like 11 a.m. Wonder why I had bill problems, right? Why can't I pay my bills? Because
Right.
I don't get out of bed. What's that? What's that, Seth?
I said, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Who knew there was a direct correlation between working and sleep and making money?
Yeah. Well, now that I get out of bed at 4 a.m. every morning, and I'm usually sleeping by 9 p.m., like, there's no money issues. Like, the money never stops coming in. Like,
Right.
it says it in Proverbs. Don't
That's right.
your bed, basically. I really summarized that. But I joined the military in 2009 just to kind of get a reset on life. Went back to college. Then life started kind of going through the toilet again. Had a failed marriage because I was on back-to-back deployments. Met the beautiful wife of my dreams, woman of my dreams, my current wife now, and 2015 we got married, and then started having babies. But here's the thing, like, history was repeating itself again. I was preparing for combat deployment number 3, training up for that, moved my family to Florida, and I was kind of freaking out because I was like, man, like, I don't want another failed marriage. Now there's children involved. So I started like voraciously downloading and listening to podcasts. I turned my car into a mobile university, and I did one more thing, and that was taking action. I started taking action immediately. I heard a guy flipping land, doubling his money overnight, and I was like, I want to do that. And that's why I'm here today. That's why I had the opportunity. I haven't had a job since 2018.
Isn't that wild,
So
dude? I think what's crazy, Brent, is we encounter so many guests who have had some kind of crisis moment, something they were dissatisfied with in their life. And it's that discomfort and that turmoil and wrestle that even gets you start to looking for alternatives, right? Because if things are comfortable and your little bubble is fine and good, you're not pushed to look outside of that and to look for an alternative. And man, thank you also from the service standpoint in the military. I have a lot of respect for guys who do that, and that is tough. I mean, when you think about being away from your family for months on end, that takes a special type of person, and that puts a strain on things, So what did you are no longer in the military. You did 9 years. Is that right?
I did right at 8.5 years.
Okay.
And yep, I'm no longer in the military as of 2018.
So when were you kind of already invested in real estate prior to leaving the military?
Yeah, so I bought that first rental property in 2007, and I was in Germany until about 2013 doing back-to-back deployments. And then 2013 came around. I got selected to do active duty green to gold. So the Army saw something in me, and they sent me to college. It's finally happening. I joined in 2009 to go to college. So 2010, 11, 12, 13, 4 years later, the dream's finally coming real.
Wow.
So I moved to Melbourne, Florida. I literally bought the house right next door to the college. It bordered the college land, and then I rented out all the rooms. So I started essentially house hacking. I didn't know what it was called that back then,
Right.
but it was a sweet gig. Like the house appreciated really quick. The tenants were paying the mortgage. I was literally making almost $200 a month to live there.
Wow.
So I bought another rental property. I renovated that one. And then I had this college bill due, $33,000, because the GI Bill didn't cover all of it because it was a private school. And I chose that school to be closer to my parents because I wanted to see them, because I hadn't seen them for 3 years almost. And I had to go and figure out a way to start paying for college courses. So I went and knocked on notice of default houses and wholesaled a couple houses. And so yeah.
So what got you into the wholesaling? So I mean, you said you started wholesaling a couple houses. I mean, did you hear about someone else wholesaling some houses? Was it just the podcast that you started listening to around that 2013, 2015 time that you just thought of it?
Well, I Googled, because I got that college bill. I was like, fastest way to make money in real estate. And all these things we're talking about, wholesaling real estate. There's no time, money, anything is needed. All you need is like a heartbeat and a pulse, which is not true.
Check and check.
So I went out there and took some massive, violent, imperfect action. And honestly, I was knocking on notice of default pre-foreclosure doors, and that got scary. Man, there's like some big guys in Florida answering the door at noon.
And you're kind of talking to the wrong guy. You're talking to a homeowner whose house is being foreclosed upon, right? So they're already on edge. I mean, those are good thing you were in the Army, because might have to have a scuffle there.
Yeah, no, I take off running. They can't catch me. Like those guys, I swear they're linebackers for the NFL.
Right.
But the door knocks got quieter and quieter and quieter. And then I just reverted to leaving sticky notes saying, hey, my name's Brent. I'd like to buy your house. Call me. And someone did. And it just turned into a couple deals. And then I just stopped because I was focused on college. And then we went out to Colorado. We got stationed in Colorado. I was like, man, can I pick this back up? So I started spending a fortune mailing postcards to homeowners. And before I knew it, I had like $8,000 on American Express and Capital One owed, and I wasn't getting any deals. And that's when I heard that podcast about the guy flipping land. And I was like, no one's ever talked about this. There's no way it's that's easy. Right. So I immediately took that same postcard and mailed tax delinquent landowners, and things just started happening.
Whoa. So man, there's a lot there. So like the thing about tax delinquent landowners is a lot of those people, they don't pay attention to that stuff. Like in our area, Lima, Ohio, Northwest Ohio, there's a lot of delinquent landowners out of the area. They don't know about it. and they can kind of get away with it, right? Because there's no tenant issues, and they can kind of put it out of sight, out of mind, almost forget about it. Typically, the city won't do anything to, force them to rectify anything. So you're almost probably bringing that into the forefront of those people when they get a postcard from you of like, oh yeah, I do own this, and oh, you're telling me now I could get money for it and, not be liable for the taxes and walk away with something. So go into that, because first, the Land Shark, cool name. Where did that name come from, the brand? And then what do your operations look like today?
Okay, so 3 questions there. All right. So where I started was Colorado Springs. I didn't know anything about how the tax liens and tax deeds, any of that stuff worked. I just started mailing landowners that didn't pay their back taxes. And after 3 years, these deeds become deed eligible. So basically, if they don't pay their back taxes for 3 years, that tax lien investor can go and foreclose on that property. Yep. So they're getting these letters and they're like, well, I'm about to lose it. This guy's offering me money. And most of this land was actually not buildable, landlocked, not accessible. So it's kind of like the bottom of the barrel stuff. And these guys just got a postcard saying, hey, my name is Brent. I'd like to buy your land in El Paso County, Colorado. If you're interested in an all cash fair price offer, call me, text me. God bless you. And these guys were calling. So that first land deal was a retired CPA. He's like, I traded many years ago for this. I don't want it anymore. And I don't want to pay the back taxes anymore. So it's yours for $285. That's what he owed on the back taxes. And I didn't even know that. So I went and looked at this land. I didn't know what it was worth, but I called the real estate office really close by. And I was like, hey, what's the 30-day blowout price? Like, I want the get her done now price on the MLS if you were to list this land. She goes, maybe 10,000, maybe. And I was like, holy crap. Like, that was huge to me back in 2016. $10,000, like that would have changed my life in 2016. I owed like $8,000 to Amex. So I thanked her for her time. And I was like, listen, I'll call you as soon as I buy this land and you can list it for me. And you guys are realtors. You're probably like, man, there's land like that doesn't pay anything on commission.
Right.
Well, she calls me back. She calls me back 5 minutes later and it's like, hey, what if I just bought the land from you? And I was like, heck yeah, what are you offering? She said $5,000. I was like, I'll take it. Like, now, granted, I know she was giving me her anchor price,
right?
But $5,000 was life-changing back then. So I said, send me the purchase agreement. She had a contract in my email before I got home. I called the seller, and oh, by the way, she wanted to close on Wednesday, the next week. And I called the seller and I said, hey, can you sell me the land on Tuesday? He said, sure. So I got the quitclaim deed. I didn't run any title insurance checks or any title checks. Like, stupid, right? Dumb.
Really rolling the dice.
I got a quitclaim deed too, of all things. But I trusted this guy. He was a CPA, right? And I bring the quitclaim deed to Land Title Insurance Company. And Wednesday, I went and picked up my $5,000 certified check, and I was hooked. So
dude, that is
that's a crazy first deal.
Okay, so you got $5,000. It was a proof of concept. You had pivoted from the residential side of this wholesaling thing, and you kind of pioneered the wholesaling land. So how did you build a system around this? And then describe those first couple of years. When did you hit critical mass?
I don't even know what critical mass means. That's a big word, but not. The system came from just taking, again, violent, imperfect, massive action. That second land deal, it was a sweet lady. I was dropping my wife and my newborn baby off at the Denver International Airport, and this lady called. She's like, "Hey, I got a piece of land," and she gave me the price again. Like, this is weird. Like, these sellers just tell me what they want. So she told me 5,000 or 500, sorry, and I dropped my wife and my son off at the airport, and I drove to her house. Her porch is bigger than my entire house. I'm just like, what in the world? Like, and she's just this very wealthy lady. And I just started negotiating. I was like, look, I'm going to learn my lesson here. I've got to get good at this. So I was like, would you take 200? She goes, son, write me the $500 check and get off my porch. And I wrote her the check. She gave me another quitclaim deed. And I put an ad. This was Saturday morning. I put an ad on Craigslist when I got home Saturday afternoon in Colorado Springs. $500 down, $400 a month, $5,000. I had a buyer by Sunday, the next day. So I got my money back out of the deal, and I gave this guy a contract for deed. And now I have $400 a month coming in. This guy would drive cash to my house once a month, and he actually paid off early. And I don't understand why he did that, because it was 0% interest. But that's the one that changed my mindset, my paradigm shift, like Stephen Covey talks about. Because I was like, if I can do this 10 more times, I'll have $4,400 a month coming in, and that's my expenses. I'm financially free, and screw rentals. Nothing ever breaks on land. So the critical mass, I think it took about a year and a half, because I just made so many mistakes, so many failures. But about a year and a half's time, I was sitting at about 9 or 10,000 a month coming in, and then I was able to leave the Army.
So all this land that you were wholesaling, you were actually essentially closing on it first, and then doing a contract to purchase to other people, right?
Kind of, and
or some of it, maybe it was just
Yeah.
different per the deal. If you could afford it, maybe you would. Maybe you
Exactly.
wouldn't. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and that's what people ask me all the time. What? Sorry, Garrett, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just trying to understand your preference then, once you buy this land, is to sell or finance it to somebody else and hold the paper on it.
That's the number one preference. And usually what stops me from doing that in the beginning, before I started having people tell me, hey, I got cash, I would love to lend it to you at like 5, 6, 7%. And I've started really to blow it up. But before, I would either sign my contract or buy it and sell or finance it. And really, how did I decide between that? What did the bank account look like? Because if there was a dollar in that bank account, I would spend it on land. Because if I spent $1 on the land, I was 3xing my money plus the interest. The interest was a cherry on top.
So, and this is a question I have kind of in our outline here. Is this land, are we talking quarter acre residential lots? Are we talking commercially zoned stuff that's, kind of been forgotten about? Are we talking about farmland? What are the types of deals that we're talking about here?
Yeah, you Ohio guys, I've never done any farmland. I've never even mailed it, because I always thought this might be a limiting belief. That's how that landowner is making their living. That's their livelihood. I never thought that they would give it away for super cheap until I started the Land Sharks program. I've taught some students how to buy land at massive discounts, and some of them have been just so crazy to go and start making offers on farms and agriculture and ranches. And it's amazing when you have 55 acres and you make $1,000 difference. So you get it for 5,000 acre, and you sell it for 6,000 acre on 55 acres. That's that's pretty good money very quickly.
Yeah.
So they've completely opened my eyes to that. I mostly go after vacant residential land. Now, have I bought some commercial stuff? Yes. I didn't start there though. I started with the land that's on the outskirts of the city. And then I started doing like city infill lots. Those are quick cash. And then went back to the outskirts, because that's more the seller financing stuff, but we still seller finance city buildable lots. I work with builders all the time to finance them the land. And you asked about how we came out with the Land Sharks name. In 2019, I got bored. I needed something to do. Like, passive income was rolling in. And I was training a lot of people, teaching people how to do this for free, because I started a real estate meetup in Colorado Springs. We still do it at Pikes Perk. It's on the first Tuesday of the month at 6:30 p.m. Dan Haberkoss, who's also a Land Shark student, and Colin Smith, my old real estate broker, still run it. But I was training so many people for free, and a lot of them weren't doing anything with it. And I had an old mentor that said, hey, what students have actually been really successful with it? And I was like, none, because they're not doing anything. He goes, how much do you charge them? I was like, nothing. He goes, that's your biggest mistake. You got to at least charge them something so they feel like enough pain to take the painful steps.
Right.
So I brought on Dan Haberkost, and the guys made like $500,000 in like almost eight months.
Wow.
So that's how the Land Sharks was created. And I didn't think of the name. The guy that helped me with my podcast, Darren Bentley, his wife is actually the one that thought of it. And I don't know if she remembers that or he remembers that, but we took it and ran with it.
If you're out there listening, we just gave you a shout out.
Yeah, there you go. So, and then also I wanted to ask, this is kind of a little bit off topic. The rhino. So I noticed there's a picture of a rhino breaking through a wall, and then there's a picture of that rhino right there.
Yep.
So what's with the rhino and in part of your branding? Oh, you might have shut off your mic.
So I'm partnered with Wholesaling Inc. And Wholesaling Inc., we call it the Rhino Tribe, because rhinos are always charging. They've got 3-inch thick skin. They take the torpedoes. The torpedoes are the nose and the angry sellers and all that. And they're not like cows that are just sitting around there, chewing their cud, getting fat. And ultimately, it was inspired by Scott Alexander's book, Rhinoceros Success. Mm-hmm. If you guys haven't read that book, holy cow, you're missing out. Get it on Audible. It's
we'll
a fun listen.
Notes. Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, yeah, I have 5 Audible credits right now. Come on.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, how is the mindset of investing in land different than like other commercial asset classes?
Well, I just told you, rhinoceros. Like, we got to be rhinos. No, I don't claim to be the smartest guy. I follow what smart people do. Since we've been in elementary school, guys like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates have been in the news. There's a reason why these smart guys are spending their money right now on land. They're the number one land buyers right now.
It's kind of freaky.
So I don't claim to be the smartest person, but I know that in hyperinflation, like the best place to park money is land, because we can grow things on it. We can build things on it. Cryptocurrency, I invested a ton of money in that and it's all gone. Stock markets, I invested a ton of money in that and it's all gone. But my land deals, I buy them at crazy discounts. Like, I'm not talking about going out and paying retail for this stuff. I've got a system that makes offers every single day, and we roughly make about 500 a week. We send out what's called the land offer letter, or the LOL, because we laugh out loud every time we get one sent back. And we've been triple split testing this one land offer letter, and it's outperforming better than my postcard and another neutral letter. That's what I mean by triple split testing, for anybody that's wondering what that is. And I'll give that away. Like, if they just go to the landsharks.com/LOL, I've bought over $1 million worth of real estate with this thing, and it's working so well. And they sign it and send it back to us.
Wow.
Interesting.
Wow. So how do you add value to vacant land? I mean, you've got people or a system to evaluate how much of a discount it is from market value. Because in our area, land is like, and maybe we're just not in areas where there's a lot of economic boom, compared to other parts of the country, maybe like Colorado and stuff. But land is speculative. So the systematization of it and the confidence that you could buy it and find an end user is fascinating to me.
We all took
Is that my cue to speak when you guys take drinks? Okay. No,
no, you're good.
Pause for effect.
So you're right. Because here's the thing. I am not just randomly buying land anywhere. I'm really going where the demand is at. How do you know where the demand's at? You go to Redfin, you go to Zillow, you put in your city, and you do sold, and you scroll down a little bit and select land, and you scroll down a little bit more and you select 30 days. And then I'm gonna exit out of that city because I want that like the perimeter or the boundary to go away. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna zoom out and I'm gonna start looking for, if I'm on Zillow, it's yellow dots. If I'm on Redfin, it's red dots. I'm looking for those clusters. And that's the area I'm going to go and attack. Like, that's the neighborhood. You could be very, very, very micro with this. Like, I'm not like going after the whole county or the whole state, because I want to be micro. I want to see what the land sold for, what the in-demand area is, and what the in-demand lot size is. Some of these things are like 5,000 square foot. Some of them are 5 acres. Some of them are 50 acres. Like, I'm not buying these massive farms. One day, maybe. That seems like a great goal. Sounds fun, honestly. But how do I add value? So the way I add value is I get it at a discount and I sell it to someone else for a little bit more and they still get a discount, or I buy it at a discount and I sell it to someone else for what it's worth, what the comps tell me it's worth, but I offer seller financing, because Americans think, how much is it going to cost me each month? Not what's the total price. So if I go out there and have my real estate agent take photos, put it on the multiple listing service, and we're just a little bit less than everything else, and I don't mean too much, because you throw a red flag Sorry, I had a big lunch. Red flag if you offer it too cheap, but if you offer it just under what it's worth, like they're going to look at this one. Hey, honey, this acre over here is 50,000. This acre over here is 47,000, and they offer seller financing. Let's go with this one. It's not like, hey, honey, this one's got granite, but this one's got a pool.
Yeah, right.
Like it's dirt.
Right. Man, that's so
interesting. So do you do stuff outside of Colorado, or are you just in Colorado, just around where you live? Do you do out of state land?
I started in Colorado, right in my own backyard. It was about a 2.5 hour radius. And I'll tell you, like I did a couple deals really quickly, like within about 45 minutes. And then it kind of started, like I started having to expand. I was really trying to figure it out back in 2016, 17, 18. And then my dad wanted to get involved with it. And I actually just did a really cool interview with my dad on the wholesaling podcast, because he's done like 50 land deals now.
Oh my gosh. Whoa.
He's a monster at it. Like, and you know how he sells most of his land? Facebook buy-sell groups, Facebook Marketplace. And he assigns all of his contracts.
This stuff's for free, people. Zillow, Redfin, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. I mean, that's how you're evaluating, getting comps. That's how you're looking for new markets to tap into. It's how you're moving it. That's what's wild.
Yeah.
The world's a wild place.
Yeah, you could do this all for free. I mean, guess what that list cost me from the county treasurer's office for those tax delinquents?
Zero.
Nothing. And I did have to have a virtual assistant help me scrub that list, because my eyes were crossing, because it was a pain in the butt. And I wouldn't get into that on this show, but I did a couple and I videoed it with Screencast-O-Matic, and then I put the steps on a Word document. And then I let her go for like 2 weeks, and she made all these mistakes. And then I should have called her sooner. But I found that virtual assistant on Upwork for $5 an hour.
Wow.
And like you can do anything now. Like with there's so much talent out there with these virtual assistants all over the world.
That's true.
If it could be done on a computer or a cell phone, they can help you with it.
Yep. So I'm not trying to stump you on this, but it is a kind of a burning question. You know, you really started to go off the ground in 2016. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that was right in like the upward motion of the market cycle. Residential real estate's starting to slow down. Builders are they're not building quite as fast. The inventory is lessening in terms of what's going on market for new construction. People are starting to downscale a little bit, or maybe hold back and pause. Do you see any of those economic factors affecting the land wholesaling market?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's so funny you brought that up, because 2016 to about 2020 was a buyer's market for land. Well, COVID made it more of a seller's market for land, because these builders were building so fast, and it was a toilet paper hoarding mentality. Everyone's snatching up all these houses for these 2.5% interest rates. I got several rentals now, that like a lake house for 2.48% interest. Holy cow. And I don't even have that good of credit, honestly. Like, no, I shouldn't have got that. But so now I'm seeing it go from a seller's market for land that happened in 2020 to about 2022, July, when the interest rates started going up, and it turned into more of a buyer's market again for land. Now, here's the thing, though. It takes like 6 to 7 months for the consumer, the end seller, the land seller, to realize that. So I'm just starting to see these prices now come down, but I'm also seeing seller financing deals come up. Like these sellers are realizing, holy crap, I thought I was going to get, $195,000 for this 5,000 square foot lot, but no one's offering it. So this guy's offering me seller financing. He's offering me like only 100, but he'll pay it to me in payments, and that's me, and it's 0% interest. So now I'm starting to see these deals where these sellers will finance to me, because here's the thing: banks are not lending on this stuff.
Right.
Banks are not lending on this land. So these sellers either have to sell it cheap or give me terms, AKA I want to pay you payments at 0% interest.
I'm glad that you answered it that way, because it endorses the assumption that there is a way to make money in any real estate market.
Yeah.
And my mentor, Jeff, our mentor, also our broker, has said that from the beginning. There's always ways to make money in real estate, no matter what market you're in. It's just what side are you on, right? So in a seller's market, the land that you've acquired has appreciated in value, and now you're selling it to people for a premium. The market changes. The banks won't lend as much on land because of the speculative nature of it, or they're just tightening up their standards. Well, now you as the seller can finance it to people and be the bank yourself, or as the buyer, you can buy stuff at a discount from motivated sellers. So it's like you can always find the spot to plug into, depending on what the market's doing. So
we're gonna kind of move on. We're gonna jump into our smaller pocket segment. So Brent, go ahead and tell us what was one of the worst deals you've ever done in real estate, and what went wrong, and then most importantly, what did you learn from it?
Yeah, I'll say the worst deal I ever did in real estate was I started getting really cocky. And that's like when you really start to make mistakes. Like everything I touch turns to gold. We bought 37 acres, and it had a 4,000 square foot house on it. And then it had another like mother-in-law suite. We got it all for $550,000. This was December of 2021. And I was like, well, it's got acreage. Like people want this. We're going to put about $100,000 into it. And I've got the contractor lined up, ready to go. So we did that. We bought the house. The contractor couldn't start when he said he was going to start. And then he ended up walking off the job. So we had to hire another one. So we put a little over 100,000 into the house plus the 550 that we bought it for. And then that contractor did a terrible job. And guess what? I was doing this all from Florida. My team was in Colorado, but my team members were about an hour from this house. So nothing was getting checked. Nothing was getting inspected. We what happened July 2022, the interest rates went up. So this house was sitting on the market for like 800,000. And I contacted my hard money lender. I was like, hey, help me out with this. You've been doing this a really long time. You went through 2007, 2008. I quit in 2008. I threw in the towel. What do you think I should do? Do you want the house back? I said, also, I'll pay you everything I owe you. No problem. But you might have to take it in payments. Again, like we flip it to now the lender. So it's crucial conversations sometimes you have to have. And I'm embarrassed to say this, because I've done like 350 land deals. Like I know I flipped about 20 houses, and this one was like caught me, and I just didn't know what to do. Right. So luckily Mike Bond, the lender, he's a pretty smart guy. He said, Brent, the purchasing power has went down. So if they were going to get an $800,000 house, that would have been this much of a mortgage per month of a payment. Let's see what that same payment would be now. All right, $550,000 at that interest rate. Wow. So I said, do I have your permission to short sale it? And we'll pay you the balance. So long story short, I lost like $150,000 on just that one deal. And there was a couple other houses too that happened. But here's the main thing. The main lesson was I got too big for my britches, like my grandma used to tell me. So we were just buying houses and rentals and apartment complexes because the deals were there. Yeah. And guess what? The deals are still there. So it's just not getting, too ahead of yourself, not stepping outside of your lane too quickly when the land deals are simple and easy. Yeah. So that was probably one of my worst deals. I've probably got 9 or 10 others.
Oh, dude, no, listen. So first of all, thank you, because it's hard, I think, to share the painful lessons. We kind of work in an industry where it's very easy to let your LinkedIn profile kind of share a narrative with people who don't know you. And I wouldn't know any different. You could tell me all of your success stories and I would say, Brent's killing it. He's never made a mistake, and almost elevate, on a pedestal. But anybody that's been doing it long enough has had those mishaps in real estate. And we were at a conference back in March, and some of the private equity guys that put money in with sponsors on these deals, they want to hear your mistakes. They want to see that you've been doing it long enough, that you've gotten punched in the face a couple times, because that's how you learn, So, no, thank you for sharing that story. And there's have you ever read any Jim Collins, any of his books? Good to Great, How the Mighty Fall, that kind of stuff. It's
All
right
right.
there.
So does it count if I have it and I haven't read it yet? I haven't.
Well, maybe that's the push that you need, and I'll listen to the Rhinoceros Success. And in I think it's How the Mighty Fall, there's a progression of the life cycle of a company. Okay, and one of the moments or the phases in a company's life cycle is hubris to success. So it's this pride that, hey, I've been doing the right thing, I'm doing it well, and that caused you to move away from rational thinking and to get out kind of over your skis, so to speak. And that's so relatable. Like we've been there, I've been there. And what advice would you have for listeners who maybe their eyes are too big for their stomach, or they want to step into a lane that they're not familiar with?
So why are you doing that? Why are you stepping outside or over your skis? For me, it was because I was focused on making my acquisition managers. I had 2 acquisition managers at the time. Now I only have 1. I was focused more on, building their bank accounts, because I thought if I grew their bank account, mine was also going to grow. And I was right for a very long time, until I started letting them make decisions. Now, granted, I'm not pointing my finger, because I also had the decision. I didn't have to buy the house, but I was like, yeah, let's do it. If you think it's going to be good. I was a little nervous. I should have I should have listened to that little fire inside of my belly.
Yeah.
That was telling me like something's not right about this. Because anytime I go against that God-given instinct, like I always pay for it. Absolutely pay for it. So tell you another stupid story. And I hope, actually, no, I can't talk about it. It's still in a legal battle. So I was about to mention another story, but it was one of those things where I felt like it wasn't right, and I made an honest mistake, but I should have checked something that I didn't check. And I knew I should have, because that little thing in my belly told me to do it. So anybody listening to this, those are instincts. Yeah. And women are really in tune with that. Men were like,
we talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll blast through that wall just like that rhino did. And that's not always the answer.
You hit it. That little voice is in 2 places. It's in your gut and it's in your wife. And we have to listen to both of them. Oh, boy, I've been wrong there before. So the last thing I wanted to bring out on the example that you had shared is knowing when to make a pivot and getting your ego out of the way to do that.
Yeah, because it's tough to concede and lose money. You're like, oh, there's a way I can right the ship. There's a way I can salvage money or break even. It's hard to make the call to cut your losses before you go to 0.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, awesome. All right, man, we're going to go into what we call our little nugget. So, Brent, we love the air horn. What's one practical takeaway or piece of advice for our listeners that they can implement into their real estate investing businesses?
Man, can I get 2? Like Seth said something really good, like cut losses. I call that the old yeller. Sometimes you got to take those dogs out back and shoot them, and just end the misery. And then the practical advice is, a lot of people listen to these podcasts and they're like, oh, that's a great story. Or, man, I need to do that. Like, one thing I've learned is and I heard Tony Robbins say this, never leave the scene of a goal or inspiration without taking an action step right away. So one of the things I want to leave the listeners with is, when you hear like there's so much great $1 million knowledge out there, and guys, you're doing a heck of a job. Like, you guys, I know you brought on some amazing guests. But when you, to the listener, when you hear some of this and it piques your interest, or I got to do that, stop right now, whether in your car or get to where you're going safely, and take out your phone and schedule it in your calendar of this action step that you're going to take immediately. And if you can, take it now. Yeah. Sometimes just make that phone call right now, because there's all this great knowledge and it's like, oh, that sounds good. One day, maybe. Well, no, make that today. It's just daily small wins.
Yeah,
that's good advice.
That's really good. That's good. Well, in the spirit of taking action, what's been one of the greatest resources in your career, personally, that maybe our listeners could also follow up on or utilize?
Resources or coaches. You talked about Jim Collins. Like, I don't know him, but I can get to know him by reading his book and learn and stack his success, compound his success of his however many years, 30, 50, 40 years that's in this book in just a couple of evenings to read it. Or getting a coach, that can, compress time frames, that's been doing this for 5 or 7 years, and I can compress it into a 6-month training course. So that's the best resource for me. Is like, it's out there right now. We've got like AI taking over and doing crazy things. Like, I heard about a guy yesterday at my real estate meetup. His electrician created a program with the help of GPT, I don't even know how to say it. Program this thing that helps his customers figure out when they need gas or oil in the Midwest, and it like automatically triggers the oil company come and deliver it. And the electrician had no clue how to program, but like, so really just getting help, getting a mentor, getting a coach.
No, that's good. Take action. So whether that's getting the coach, whether that's listening to that podcast, reading that book, let's be people of action. That's how you're going to get somewhere.
And on the action side of things, if somebody wanted to learn more about what you guys are doing, about the different brands that you've got, about your program, how can people follow your success or follow up from this episode?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Check me out on was it TikTok, Brent L. Bowers 1. I do a video each day talking to people about how to make money in land. And if you really want to take the next step, start really compressing time frames, head on over to the landsharks.com and schedule a call.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put those in the show notes as links that people can use. Go poke around his site and take those action steps. That's the thing. It doesn't have to be massive action. I think those are the catchy headlines. Take massive action, Take consistent action, singles and doubles, and you'll score. So
absolutely.
Brent, thank you so much, man, for coming on today and sharing about your strategy and how you're helping other people.
Thanks, Seth. Thanks, Garrett. Appreciate you guys.
Awesome, man. As always, excited that you joined us on another episode of the Reinvest Podcast. If this episode added to your tool belt or left you feeling inspired, go ahead and share it with a friend. Stay tuned every Tuesday for new episodes. And if you want to get in touch with us, go to our LinkedIn or Facebook profiles and shoot us a message. Move farther, reach higher, and grow deeper. See you next time.